Alright, good day one and all. So this is just a quick video. I've been asked by a few of you to do a video on what it is I currently do for a living and why I came to live in Australia. Now, simply the reason I came to live in Australia, I'm born and bred in England, Coventry, England. The reason why I came to live in Australia is because there was nothing for me in England. I've been here 20 years now, by the way. There was nothing for me in England. I'd hit a brick wall, didn't have a pot to piss in England, so I had to go somewhere. And now my two options were either Canada or Australia. And I love my skiing. So when I lived in England, I did a lot of skiing once a year with mates of mine. So I figured I'm going to go to Canada and be a ski instructor. So in that time, though, whilst I was deciding, my aunt had come over to England for a holiday from Australia, and she says to me, "Why don't you come on a working holiday to Australia? You can come and stay at my place." So I figured, why not? Give that a go. So that's how I came to live in Australia. I came out here on a 12-month working holiday, loved it that much. When I got back to England, I applied and 12 months later got my residency and came back out here to live. Now, how I got into Australia is through my engineering degree. Now, I did a 5-year apprenticeship, so I'm a fitter turner by trade. And I was very lucky to get that job. Now, if we go back to when I left school, I left school with no qualifications. Now, if you're at school now, watching this video, I urge you to do the best you possibly can at school, because a good education will send you a long way, trust me. And anyway, I ended up leaving with no qualifications, but fortunately for me, my dad worked next to the factory that I did my apprenticeship in, and he knew the owner, Roger Haddon, and he got me the job and the apprenticeship. So thank the Lord, I thank my dad for that. He got me the apprenticeship, which eventually got me the papers to apply to come and live in Australia. Because at the time when I applied to come to live in Australia, what they wanted the most was the top position was fitter turners. There's me, a fitter turner. So I came out to Australia, I got in just like that because of my trade qualifications. Never used it, never done fitter turning in Australia. My plan was when I got here to my plan was to go and work in the mines, okay, as a fitter turner and earn big bucks. That was my plan. But when I first got to Australia, the mining industry had a little bit of a lull, so there weren't too many jobs going around. But I applied anyway, but there wasn't too much happening. So I applied for lots of different jobs as well, and one I applied for was a window cleaner. I thought that'll tide me over. And the only reason I applied for this job was because it came with a van, and you got to keep the van 24/7. It was yours to keep for 24/7. Yeah. So I had transport. So I landed in Australia. I think I landed with $200 to my name. That was it. That's all I had in my whole world was $200. Yeah. And I figured, saves me buying a van, saves me buying a car. Saves me insuring it, taxing it, all the rest of it, and that was the only reason I applied for it. But when I went down for the interview, I got the job, but he says to me, "Mate, there's no carpet cleaning jobs left. So there's no window cleaning jobs left, but there is a carpet cleaning job." And I said, "Well, I'll do that. What do I do? What's carpet cleaning all about?" And anyway, I then got to learn his business. And did that for, I think I was working for him for about probably 6 or 7 months before I set my own business up. Now, the way I set my own business up was the company I worked for, Abala Carpet Cleaning, they no longer exist, all right? But that company, in the end, I came like their head worker. I was there the longest. They had a lot of turnover of staff, but I would get to train them all up. So I got to train all their new staff, and I got to know everyone. And then I got to know how the business ran. In the end, he lived in Sydney, and I sort of ran it up here for him. And I would then have to collect all the money from the guys and then go and put it into the post office. What do we used to do? We used to do a transfer, some cash transfer anyway, through the post office, wired it down to Sydney for him. And so I got to know the business very well. And I figured after about 6-7 months, I figured, you know, I can do this. I can do this business. I know how to do it, the whole lot. One chap that I trained up, Rob, he didn't get on very well with Kent, the guy that owned a Bala. And he says to me, "Mate, I'm leaving. I've had enough of this. I'm going." And I said, "Hang on a minute." I said, "I'm starting my own carpet cleaning business. I've got a van and I've got a machine." I said, "Why don't you run my carpet cleaning business for me?" So he ran my business while I was running Kent's business. And that then led on to me getting another van and another van and another van until I had 5 vans on the road. But the way I got the first van going was in my van when I worked for a Bala. I had 2 machines. They were little fiberglass machines, yeah. And we used to have one as a spare. So the spare one of my machines, I stripped it down. I don't think Kent knows this to this day. So if you're watching, mate, sorry, but this is what I did. I stripped the machine down, sent it off to a fabrication shop, a moulding shop, fiberglass mould company, and they made me a mould of the outside, and then I made internal moulds out of wood for the internal parts of it that holds the clean and the dirty water. And then I figured out a way of fitting all the motors and the pump and all the wiring and the switches and buttons and things, and I built the whole thing. So I built my own carpet cleaning machine, and my mate Rob, he ran my first van in with my first carpet cleaning machine that I built. And I remember he went out and did a job, and I think his second job, the machine leaked. It had a leak on it somewhere. So anyway, we had to do a quick repair on it, but it all worked out good in the end. And that is how I got into doing what I'm doing today, which is carpet cleaning and pest control. So after once I'd left a Bala, I was with them for maybe a bit under 12 months all up. But once I'd left them and I got Rob on the road, I was literally putting a van on the road, a new van and machine on the road every month. All right, and then in the end I ended up with 5 carpet cleaning vans. And then I branched out into pest control as well. I had 2 pest control operators, so I had 7 vans altogether. 2 office girls running the phones, and believe me, it was hectic. Hectic. I did that for 6 years. It was absolutely full on, flat out for 6 years. And you couldn't keep doing it forever. It was just too much. And then I got married, had kids, had my heart operation. My middle daughter Jada had heart operations, some complications. She's all good now, but she had some complications when she was younger. And my wife and I just said, look, you know what? This is just too much stress. We still had the business running full pelt then. We said, this is too much stress, too much hassle. Let's just cut it down. So we split it down. We got rid of some of the vans, moved into this current house we're in now. And I went down to 2 vans and a subby. So I'll give the subby some work when we're busy, and other than that there's just 2 other vans, and it's much nicer and easier, much better now than it ever was back then. But I could do it back then purely because I was younger. I was single at the time, don't forget, when I first started the business. So I had loads of time, I had heaps of energy, wasn't a care in the world. It was just make some money, and that's what we did. But when it came to choosing between your health and the money, I chose my health. And then I got back into my cycling and all the rest of it, and did my YouTube channel. And that is it. And that is pretty much what I do now. So I still do my carpet cleaning and pest control, except now I'm very fortunate. I'm in a position where if I don't want to work, I don't have to work. Okay. And I can sort of pick and choose what I want to do, or not pick and choose what I want to do, but pick and choose the days in which I want to work. So that is it. That is pretty much it in a nutshell. You now know what I do for a living. You now know why I left England and how I got into Australia. So I hope that has answered some of your questions. If you got any more questions and comments on it, you can post them down below.